Hey, what's up, guys? So today I'm gonna give you guys my first kind of report of an RCQ I went to, and it's the first one of the year, and it's my second ever RCQ. So this one took place at a shop down in Brea, and uh, like I said, it's the first one of the year that I attended. There were a few more that I could have gone about a week or two ago, but I just didn't have time. But obviously, I plan on going to a couple more RCQs throughout the year, and hopefully um, do well enough to get an invite or something. But otherwise, for the first RCQ I went to, it wasn't too bad. I did okay. I didn't top eight. First off, so a little unfortunate, but overall, I think I played well for the most part, save for a couple of things. Especially the first round, I kind of punted it a lot. Because it was just the first round of the day, and I was just not like awake yet, I guess. So I screwed up my first match, and then the only match I felt that was kind of really lopsided was my last match, which was really unfortunate. But every other match I had during that day, I felt like I was doing pretty well. I was in control. My deck was performing well. Um, wasn't really um, like a lot of the games that were close. I was able to pull ahead, or um, I played like poorly the second round, but the third round, like I did really well, or the third game of those matches, I did really well. Um, but yeah, a lot of things happened. But yeah, it was still pretty fun. And was a great learning experience. Since I don't really do too many like super competitive Magic and you know big environment, it was great to like play against a lot of people I've never played against, a lot of different deck strategies that I've maybe seen once or twice before, and kind of just familiarizing myself with what type of decks might show up to an RCQ. Um, Speaking of that, the decks that I think I saw a lot of people that were playing, I think I saw a lot of Murktide, a lot of I think Prowess, maybe Breach type decks, a couple of Breach decks, and then what was the other one? Hammertime. Yeah, sorry, kind of flew above my head right there. Yeah, Hammertime. Didn't really see any other control players. Maybe one other blue-white control player, but control wasn't prevalent. This particular RCQ was kind of small. It only had like about 33 people, I think. There's other RCQs that are around my area that get like 60 to 100 people. So this one was, I would say, was relatively small, and yeah, it was kind of cheap to enter. I got a cool promo card for entering it. I think it's a mystical dispute. I think. Let me reach over here. This thing right here. It's kind of cool. I wish it was hollow though, but um, still kind of a cool promo to get just for entering. And yeah, it was I wanted to start the year off with something kind of small, just get kind of used to it, and um, entry wasn't too expensive, and it was kind of close to my house, so didn't have to travel too far. And yeah, it was great experience. So there was 5 rounds of Swiss, and then it cut off to top eight. Um, and I went with my record. I went 2-1, so I had 2 wins, 2 losses, and 1 draw, which obviously didn't get me to top eight. Had I won my last matchup, I think I was almost guaranteed to get into top eight if I had won my last matchup. Um, and then the matchup that I had a draw on, I think I was. If the game had, if it had more time for that particular matchup, I would have been guaranteed to almost win. Like I would say an 80% chance of winning, because I was playing ahead while my opponent was playing behind on the third game the entire time. And yeah, we just unfortunately ran out of time because our first match just took quite a while. It took like a 25 minute match. Game two, I just quickly scooped just so I can get the game three. Once things went to his favor. I just like scooped and went to game three to try to get enough time for the game three. But even then, it just we went into time and I was ahead, but I didn't have any um, power on board to kill him. I had no like storm giants or any big pushers. I think I had just got one spirit tokens, and that was not gonna kill him. He was at maybe 13 health, so I just didn't have enough power on board. I had total control of the game though. I think I had big Teferi and stuff like that, so I think I was in a good position to win. Just not enough time. But yeah, let's talk about the matches I face, how I did against them, and maybe a little bit of detail of what I experienced in each of the matchups, just to kind of give you guys a general idea without going into too much detail. So yeah, 5 round Swiss. Game one, or sorry, round one, I played against Death Shadow. I got 0-2 there, so meaning I lost both games, unfortunately. So that was a pretty bad start. Game two, or round two, I played against Scam. I went 2-1, and then I played against Hammertime. I went 2-0. Played against I think it was Sultai, or is it Blue Black? No, sorry, it was Green Black Red. So I think it was Jun. Yeah, it was Jun Foods, and then I went 1-1 on that one. That's the matchup I had a tie in, unfortunately. And then the last round I went against, I think it was Gruul Foods, which kind of blew me out of the water because that was some unlucky stuff that happened in that matchup. Some real unlucky stuff that happened to me. So that matchup I got 0-2. So that blew me out of the water, and it was kind of a frustrating experience just because I'll explain once I get to that matchup. But yeah, let's start with the Grixis Death Shadow and what happened there. So game one, I think I had a decent opening hand, but my opponent, I think, thought seizes me twice or three times in like the first two turns. So I had one. They went first. I had one land down. They like thought seized me, and then from there I kind of just drew nothing but lands. So I just flooded out while being under pressure by Thoughtseize and I think a Darcy or a Ragavan or something like that. And then they also had Expressive Alliteration, which was just kind of refilling their hand, and I was just drawing lands and just wasn't able to do anything. When I was able to finally get something going, they had Drown Unlocks already set up because I had like 3 or 4, maybe in 5 cards in the graveyard by the time I was able to draw some action. And unfortunately, they just kind of drowned my plays, and I just couldn't do anything. So that was unfortunate. Game 2, I think I would have been okay, but I kind of punted it also. I had the mold 6. I know I sided in Chalices for sure. I took out the dress down in my main. I'm playing one dress in the main right now. I took it down because I don't think dress is good against shadows because you make shadows bigger. I think I put in a couple Aether Gusses, either 1 or 2 Aether Gusses maybe, and a couple Gaia and Teferi. I think that's about it. About six-ish cards or so. I took out some ops. So I went first. I think they bobbled me. I shuffled my deck because I had to fetch. But on top of my deck was a freaking Chalice of the Void, so I shuffled it away. I guess I could have not cracked and just draw that card, but they already knew what card that was, and I didn't want it in my hand because they already had that information. So I just ended up cracking my land, shuffling the Chalice away. I think what happened was they thought seized me. I punted in the sense where I tried to Kaya Giles Entwine without trying to play through a Spell Pierce, which I should have just went for the regular like 2 modes rather than 4 modes. I was just super greedy, and I think I was like, oh, they don't have enough for Drown, right? I'll be fine. And then yeah, I forgot. Yeah, it's Spell Pierce, right? So yeah, I played into Spell Pierce, which meant that they kept the Ragavan, and I couldn't really deal with Ragavan. Ragavan was just kind of basically hitting my land drops, and I think eventually they hit a Solitude, which they were able to cast with Ragavan. Yeah, they kind of just went downhill from there. So pretty bad matchup for game one, or for round one. Like I just played like ass. My opponent was a good player, so props to them for sure. And I was just playing like I didn't have a care in the world, and I just kind of fell into all their um, interactions. So they felt more like a control deck, versus I was just trying to play like a proactive game where I couldn't even get that going. So yeah, bad game one for me, and that was just it. Round two, I played against Scam. Game one was kind of a blowout for me, or in the sense that I won pretty easily. I think they just kind of burnt through their hand quite quickly, and they couldn't establish like a grief or whatever on board. And I had like Teferi and a bunch of cards in hand to their like one or two cards in hand with like three lands, and it would they scooped because they knew they just couldn't weren't able to keep up with me after a while, considering I had like big Teferi on the board and just a bunch of cards in hand. And yeah, so that game one was pretty quick actually. Game two dragged on a little bit longer. I For what I cited in, I think I did for sure Chalice. Let me see what I put in. I put in quite a bit of cards. So I put in this, and then I think Salties, and maybe Gaia's, or a couple, one or two Gaia's Kyles. So this is what I'm just gonna show off my side deck here. I'm not gonna really show my main deck because it's kind of pointless, but for sure. So reasoning behind this, Chalice for all the one drops that they do play. Uh, the Ragavans, the potential lightning bolts, the Undying Malice, all that jazz. So I thought that the Chows were necessary. Dress down, same idea against Torok, and I guess if they try to cheat something in, you can kind of dress down to kind of not neg yourself too badly. Because if they go Grief on turn two, if you have two mana at least, they go Grief, pitching a card, you can dress down. Yeah, they'll get the Grief on the board, but I guess they lose a card and they can't really get a card out of your hand, or two cards out of your hand, which I think is more important to me because I can deal with the Grief on board, but I can't deal with them thought seizing me twice, and just destroying my hand. So I was okay with dealing with a 3/2 rather than a 3/2 that thought seized me twice. So that's why I did the dress down there. This is for Blood Moon, which did come up. I actually got rid of a Blood Moon or two during that particular matchup, so that was good. This was just kind of optional. I wasn't sure if it would be good or not. Namely, you wanted to use this to get rid of like an established Grief or Fury on the board, just a way to kind of get rid of that. Same thing with Salty. Salty's the same idea with Dress Down. If they go first or something, you can just Salty and force them to put it back on top of the deck, or tuck it. So you lose two cards, they lose two cards, but they don't get a Grief on board or a Fury on board, and they have maybe a dead Malice or Rebirth in their hand. So that's the idea behind that. And I just think that just took out like a couple of ops and some other dress downs and some of the bigger and more expensive planeswalkers. Just because I didn't think I was going to be able to resolve some of the big planeswalkers, and they were targets for Fury, so I think I took some of those out. I might have taken out Teferi too, because I don't think Teferi's too great in this matchup. Baby Teferi. Namely because if they get like a Grief out or get a Fury out, you really don't want to just bounce that back to their hand. So and then you can't even bounce like Turok either. Turok is another big pain in the ass to deal with. So Kaya's Guile was also in there for Turok, assuming that I knew that they were gonna play Turok. So Guile did help out there, and then yeah, the Baby Teferi. The only thing Baby Teferi does for you is stop their Undying Malice, I guess, but that doesn't really matter too much. So I think I took out Baby Teferi completely, and then yeah, just went with this type of sideboard. Game two was going okay, but I think I punted something where then they were able to establish. Oh, they established a Turok where, and they got rid of my like removal. Um, which I guess in hindsight I should have played around and saved up counterspell for a turn 4, so that I can counter a Turok. They tried a Turok again, or something like that. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, they had a legendary rule. I forgot Turok had a legendary rule, I think, but I think they just did it for the value, for the um, just to get rid of cards in my hand. But I dressed down that one, and then it immediately died after that. Um, but yeah, like so that kind of saved me in that sense. Other than that, um, the game 2 kind of only went out of hand when they were able to get down Omniscious with the causality cause or whatever. And so they had 2 copies of that, and that kind of burnt through my life trying to keep myself alive. And they kept healing. I was super close to killing them. I think they were at like 5 health. And I was just kind of poking them with the Gaia's token, and they were kind of fighting back with me with their Turok. I also had a Solitude on board, but that wasn't really doing too much because I was afraid of attacking with that and them blocking with Turok. But either way, they get down the Omniscious, and that's how they kind of went away, drove the game away from me. Unfortunately, game 3, I did pretty well. I think they tried to cheat a Fury, but I ended up just killing the Fury with like a Kai's Guile. Um, and yeah, I kind of just went to town with them. They didn't really have too much in their hand. I established like the Emperor and Big Teferi, and yeah, and that kind of game just went my way. So game 3, game 1 weren't too bad. It was just game 2 where I think if I did something else, like if I had man up for the Turok before they could cast it, I would have been fine. But I tapped out and they Turoked me, and that's where the game just flipped their way. So that was just my misplay there. So oh well. And then round 3, I played against Hammertime. Pretty big blowout for me, or for them, I guess, in the sense that game 1 was just super rough. I had so much removal in my hand, it was crazy. I had like the one card, I guess, that randomly really helped was March. The one March I was playing, because I think it's pretty hilarious what happened. Game 1, he goes first, right? So he goes first, plays a fetch land, and then my turn. I had March and a fetch land, so did I have fetch land? I think I might have fetch land. Yeah. So I have a fetch land, so I play a fetch. His turn, he plays Urza Saga, so he has I think a hollow fountain and an Urza Saga. So I fetch crack my fetch land, and I try to march his Saga before he gets the chapter or the I Saga. Sorry, I marched the Saga when the Saga was getting the chapter ability. So he had to respawn with a blacksmith skill on his own Saga. So that kind of like slowed him down and screwed him out of like a mana and a turn. So he just played Saga, pass it back to me. I played a land, pass it back to him. I had a counter spell. He tries to do something. I think I countered it. Pass it back to me. I had a Snapcaster in hand, so I played a land. Played Snap. Cast the Warley March again, and just nuked his Saga. So that was good, I think. And then it kind of just went downhill from there. Like after doing that, I had like leyline endings and prismatic endings. So I was just kind of sniping each small thing he had on the board. I think he had a Nemesis with like he had eventually equipped it to a Omnicopter, just to keep hitting me in the face for like 2 or 3 damage. That didn't really matter too much because like my hand was just stacked. I was just purposely taking that damage just to make sure I had removal ready for if he tried to like Cigar's aid, or if he had a the Steelcraft guy, the knight, pure steel paladin, and stuff like that. So I was more afraid of that stuff than the two power omnicopter that was smacking me in the face. Like, I didn't care about that thing too much. But yeah, eventually he just gave up, knowing that I eventually got a big mana Teferi, and it was basically over. But yeah, game two, I decided in chalices. Uh, chalices for sure, I think. What else did I put in here? I think chalices. I think I put in a couple of Hollow Moonlights, and I think a Teferi and a Verdict, I think. So I think that's all I put in. Overall, I think the matchup was fine for me, anyways. I think that was Hollow Moonlights. If not, it might have been Kai's Guile, one or the other. But either way, I took out Ops, took out I think some of the Planeswalker. I think I might have taken out Jace because I didn't think I was going to resolve Jace in this particular matchup, or I don't need Jace to win this matchup. So took out some of the more expensive Planeswalkers and just kept in a bunch of removal, stuff like that. Teferi's good in this matchup in the sense that you can turn off their blacksmith skills and their spell pierces. Um, if you needed to. Verdict if they get too big on board. Hollow Moonlight is an interesting choice, which it didn't come up this matchup, but the reason I play Hollow Moonlight is to, I guess, play against Urza Saga. If they make they try to go make a Urza token, I go Hollow Moonlight, or if they go Mystic Stormforge and they try to, I don't know, get Kaldra's completed, Kaldra's completed, and they go, forge into Kaldra's completed. You can Hollow Moonlight the Germ token, and then the Kaldra just sits there doing nothing. So those are a couple of ideas as to why I brought in the Hollow Moonlights. Didn't really see him in this matchup. I think he goes first. He molds the 5, so it was pretty rough. I kept the 7. He molds the 5, does his plays like a Mother of Runes and like a Saga or something like that. I had that March again, so I marched his Saga, but I think he eventually gets a Cigar to aid, and then he aided the a hammer onto Mothers of Rune, and then smacks me in the face for 11 damage. So I'm like down to like 9 or 7. So my turn, I put 3 lands into play. He has no cards in hand now. I pass it back to his turn. He goes to upkeep. And then I crack my land, shock myself down to like 5, I believe. And Archmage Charm his Mother of Runes with the hammer on it, and that was basically the end of the game. Because that when it passes back to my turn, I just smack him for 11 with his own Mother of Runes, and I had a bunch of like interaction up, so he knew the writing was on the wall after that happened. So we talked about it at the end of the match. It's just, I guess his hands, his 2 hands before he mulligan wasn't good enough. So with his 5th, on his 3rd hand, he just kept it just because he didn't want to mull the 4, I think, and he had to go for it. He just had to try to clock me in 2 turns, which is a valid strategy given that situation he was in. I just had a lot of decent removal and just interaction, so I was pretty well equipped to deal with that matchup. So 2-0 the hammer, great on me. Good game. I had fun for that one. Like, it was just one of those decisive, quick matches that each player kind of knows their deck really well, and it was just like you play it out, and it just happened to happen. So, anyways, on to the 4th round. This is against Gruul Foods. So they had like Asmodan. They had this one creature that grew every time an artifact came into the board and healed them. I forgot the name of the card, but yeah, it was that Cat Oven that I saw. So game 1 was really good for me because I had so much removal. I was just kind of like annihilating all of his stuff on the board. All of his cats that came on the board, all of his ovens, his Asmos, um, all the 1/1s. So it just took a while, but because he kept dropping a bunch of 1/1s, he had a bunch of Urza Sagas, but I was kind of able to control all of that. I didn't have an established clock, but I was just trying to establish control and stabilize, and which I eventually did. But my opponent, I think if he scooped a little bit earlier, we would have been fine. But he just kept playing it for a bit longer, and eventually he decided, okay, yeah, he had enough, and he scooped. So game one went to me. Game two, I kind of low key punted myself. I had an okay hand, like it wasn't bad. He had a pretty fast hand. He established a lot of stuff really quickly. Like he finale of devastation for 0, got out the Asmo pretty quickly on turn 2. In hindsight, I think I should have Archmage Charm and stole the Asmo, but what I did is I tried to drew 2 cards with Archmage Charm, and that kind of screwed me. So the one thing about Archmage Charm is it's a great card, but you can get really easily really greedy with it, and that's like the main issue is if you get greedy with this card, it punishes you really badly. So I Archmage Charm on turn 3 to get greedy, and I had like maybe 1 or 2 lands in hand, so I drew 2 lands off of Archmage Charm, and for my draw I drew another land. So that was kind of like ass, right? So that's why I prefer the Shadow Prophecy, so you can at least see what the hell you're drawing or what you want to add to your hand, versus the Archmage Charm. So that like lost me the game. Like if I was playing more carefully, I should have just stole the Asmodan. That way I have a body on board I can defend myself with, and just kind of slow roll the game. But I guess I was a little worried on time just because game 1 took so long. I just Archmage Charm just see if I can just draw removal and action. And I ended up just drawing a bunch of lands. So I think we played for 1 or 2 more like turns. I just scooped just to go game 3. Because looking at my hand, I was like, there's no way for me to really solve this board immediately and deal with it. And he was just kind of building up advantage. And I think in another couple of turns he would have just killed me. Because I couldn't really deal with his Asmo and having like 4 lands in hand. So yeah, we went to game 3, and long story short of that game is it was really in my favor. By the time we finished our turns, because we went into turns, he had 3 cards in the hand. I had like 4 or 5. I had 2 Archmage Charms, 2 Kai's Guile, and like a land and something else. It didn't matter, but I had like big Teferi on the board, and I had like a Solitude on the board too. So I was just super duper ahead. But if we had maybe like another 5 minutes, maybe another 5-10 minutes, for sure I think I would have won. Simply because he was just playing from behind the entire game, and I was ahead. But I guess like there could always be a chance where I do something stupid and he pulls ahead. But I think in my opinion at least, I think I was going to win that game if it weren't for time and weren't for the fact that game 1 took so long. So when I ended up with a draw on that one, unfortunately, which resulted me in getting paired down, which was also unfortunate. So my tiebreaker got shot and got shot again. So I got paired down, and round 5 I played against the Gruul Foods deck, another Asmo deck, and I think that deck was harder to deal with, only because a couple of things. So game 1, I think I would have been fine, but he plays the card where each player draws like 4 cards and discards 3, because he's playing the Madness build with the Vengevine, and yeah, Vengevine, the hollow one. So what he does is he plays that card, right? So I had like 10 cards in hand or whatever. I had a good suite of removal. Like I had like 2 Leyline Bindings, a Prismatic Ending. I was pretty set on removal. So before he played that card, right? So he plays that card, and we just for the sake of time, we just picked cards from our hands. So I shuffled my hand, put it down on the board. He picked 3 cards. I picked 3 cards from his hand. I discarded some like Vengevine and some other stuff from him. So I think his discard was good. He ended up hitting both my ley lines and my prismatic ending, and then he was able to get out Vengevine, Hollow One, and like a 1/1. And I was just like, oh my god, this is like turn two, right? So what can I do against that? That's like at least you know 10 power on the board already. Swings in for 4 damage at me, so I'm already at like 15, 16 health, like really low already, at least in my opinion. So I'm on like 2 lands or whatever. I go, not really much else I can do. I try to pick off his like cards slowly, um, but eventually he gets out like 2 creatures. I was at like maybe 1 or 2 health. They were both 1/1s. I eventually took care of the hollow ones and the Vengevine, but I was just so low on health. I could not establish, uh, could not stabilize, and I was low on health and cards, just kind of dealing with his stuff. Because I had to spend a couple turns trying to Archmage Charm and stuff just to draw removal, and it was just kind of miserable. Like the fact that he just got rid of both my ley lines and prismatic ending on like turn two is just obnoxious. So that went downhill really quickly for me. Um, and then so for game two, what I tried to side it in was I think I did this, maybe the Chalice, because he did play a couple of 1/1s and stuff like that, so I think that was relevant. And then something like this, I think I tried to go a lot of hate on him, maybe too much. So it was okay. Like again, he just had a blowout hand. So my turn two, I played 2 lands. His turn, he goes again. He plays like another discard card, draw card, discard card. Discards a Vengevine to the graveyard. Gets out Asmo, and then he plays the Asmo. I go dress down. Goes to the end of turn. Dress down dies. He goes priority. Discards a little lizard with Madness 0. So he casts the lizard with Madness 0, and then gets out Vengevine on his turn. So he has like Asmo, lizard, and Vengevine. So that's the lizard can pump itself by 2 damage. So he had a total of 10 power on the board already by turn 2. So my turn, it's turn 3. I draw a card. I had like a Hollow Moonlight, which I guess I should have just saved that instead of playing the dress down. I was in a tough spot for my turn 2. I either had to leave up mana for Hollow Moonlight to get rid of his Vengevine, or stop his Asmo. In hindsight, obviously, I think the Vengevine was what clinched the game for him, so I should have just saw that coming. I should have saw the zero lizard thing and saved it for the Moonlight, and I would have been fine dealing with his board after. But I guess I got greedy. And then I tried to stop him from getting a cookbook off of Asmo, and that kind of bite me in the ass because then he swings in for 10 damage. My turn, I had a subtlety, but subtlety didn't help in that particular instance, since he wasn't really casting anything. He was just kind of doing his thing. Like his cast didn't matter too much, so I guess in hindsight, subtlety wasn't too great in that particular matchup. And then I think I had to block, and basically by turn 4 I was dead because I just didn't have any way of dealing with his board. I had a Solitude in hand, but no other white cards. I had 2 counter spells, which were useless because he just wasn't really playing anything, casting anything worthwhile. And then that kind of just went downhill. Maybe I should have countered the Asmo instead. In hindsight, instead of dress downing, I don't really quite remember what I was thinking, because I think I had dress down, hollowed, and a counter spell, but I decided to dress down instead. So in maybe hindsight, I should have just countered the Asmo when he cast it, he cast it because he got the draw card, or maybe I should have countered the draw card, the draw bunch and discard bunch. I don't know. Like it was one of those games where I just wasn't sure what the hell I was doing, and I punted that, so I ended up losing that game, and because of that, I did not make top 8. So my placement was I think around 16th place, so not too great, honestly. My friends there, I had a couple people I knew that were there. One guy got, my friend got 10th place. He went 3-2. Um, yeah, he was playing Scam. And yeah, he got 10th place, and a couple of other people I knew didn't make the top cut either. Um, but yeah, it was really unfortunate, that last game, and then the game uh, against the other food player. With the 3-2 record, I might have made it. But if I won my last matchup, I think I would have made it even with the draw. So I would have had 3 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss. That would have made it to top 8. But unfortunately, with a 2-2-2-1 record, no way I was making it in the top 8. So unfortunate, but it was a great learning experience. My main regret was, yeah, just a couple of choices I made during my gameplay where it kind of went downhill. Uh, and yeah, like those were the choices I wanted to highlight, from my play experience, and maybe you guys can learn something. You know, um, against the Grixis player, I was just kind of gun ho. It was maybe, I don't know, early in the morning or whatnot. I was just kind of jamming stuff just to see what went through, and that I got punished for because I was being stupid. Um, game, game with the Scam player and the Jun Foods, I got really greedy. I didn't keep up mana, or I just tried to draw cards, which I shouldn't have. And then the final game with the Gruul Food, a couple of choices where I might have made a difference, but it's hard to say if I chose to play one card over the other, if it would have made a difference. I don't know. I think I was just tilted by that point, on uh, being that I lost to the foods deck with, like, you know um, 2 foods deck in the row, where it's like, I was like, yikes, the last food decks tilted me because I know I could have won. And in this deck, the Gruul Foods deck tilted me because I got blown out by turn 2, and I had my good, like, stuff discarded, and then yeah, it just went downhill from there by the end of the day. So, but overall, still a fun experience, still like a great learning experience, I think. And I definitely plan on doing a few more RCQ for sure whenever they pop up, especially for modern. I don't think I'll do any RCQ for Seal or for Pioneer. I haven't played Pioneer in a while just because I've been more focused on modern lately. So Pioneer has been kind of taking a back burner for me right now. Um, and I haven't really been playing Arena too much either. Just been busy with other stuff, so uh, that's kind of been on the back burner. So I think main focus, at least for this half of the year, moving forward, is just to play mostly modern, and then I guess Yu-Gi-Oh! Edison format, because I've been having a lot of fun with Yu-Gi-Oh! Edison format, which I think is why I'm not playing Pioneer and some other formats right now, just because I've been playing a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Edison format, having a lot of fun with that. I haven't even played current modern Yu-Gi-Oh! At all either, so those are the two more main formats I'm into right now. Is just modern and um, Edison at the moment. So those are probably going to be the type of content that I'll be talking about in at least for the upcoming future, until I'm bored of those format. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the this RCQ report. For sure, I'm gonna do, like I said, more RCQ stuff, and then hopefully, um, give you guys more insight, or have some good news if I, eventually get an invite or something like that. But we'll see. Anyways, peace out, guys. See you next time.